All right, let's just get right into it. We've all been wondering, right? What is all this generative AI? Stuff like ChatGPT. What's it actually doing to our brains? Well, today we're going to find out.
And this really is the big question, isn't it? Is this amazing tech making us smarter, pushing us to new creative heights, or is it just a crutch? Something that's letting our mental muscles get a little, well, weak. Let's dig in.
It's not like this is totally new. Our tools have always been extensions of our minds. Think about it. The printing press, the calculator, heck, the internet. They all changed how we think. But with generative AI, something feels different. We're not just tweaking our habits here. This feels like a much, much bigger deal.
Okay, so to really get a handle on this new frontier, we've got to look back at something we already know. Let's start with a piece of tech that's already completely rewired our brains, the good old search engine.
You know exactly what I'm talking about, right? That feeling when you can't remember an actor's name, but you're not worried because, you can just Google it. Well, that's it. That's the Google effect. It's also called digital amnesia. Our brains are basically outsourcing our memory to the internet, treating it like a giant external hard drive for facts.
Now, this doesn't mean our brains are broken or failing us. Actually, it's the total opposite. It's a super clever adaptation. Our minds are making a choice. They're prioritizing remembering the path to the info over the info itself. It's a mental shortcut. I mean, why waste brain space on a bunch of random facts when you can just remember how to look them up, right?
Okay, but what happens when we stop just searching for facts and start asking for entire ideas to be generated for us? Well, that is where the ChatGPT effect comes in, and believe me, it is a whole new ballgame. This is the core of what we're talking about today.
So here's the absolute key difference. With the ChatGPT effect, we're not just outsourcing our memory anymore. We're outsourcing our thinking. We're literally asking the AI to do the heavy lifting for us, the analysis, the synthesis, the creation. It's a massive shift, and yeah, the implications are just as big.
This table lays it out so clearly. Look, with Google, it's like an external memory. We're offloading information storage, just the facts. But with ChatGPT, it's like an external processor. We're offloading the actual analysis and synthesis. And that means the risk isn't just, forgetting stuff. The risk is that our critical thinking skills could actually start to weaken, to atrophy.
And look, this isn't just some theory or speculation. We have actual data, and it comes from a pretty wild place, right inside our own skulls.
So check this out. In a really cool study from the MIT Media Lab, researchers hooked people up to EEG scans, to measure brain activity. They gave them a simple task, write an essay. But here's the twist. They split them into 3 groups. One group had to use just their brain, another could use Google, and the third group got to use ChatGPT.
The results? Honestly, they're kind of shocking. Just look at this chart. The brain-only group, their minds were firing on all cylinders. The Google group, you see some decent activity. But the ChatGPT group? Whoa, their brain activity just plummeted. The researchers actually have a name for this phenomenon. They call it cognitive laziness. The way the researchers put it is that the AI was basically bypassing deep memory processes. I mean, think about that. The people using ChatGPT weren't just farming out the writing, they were farming out the thinking itself. And get this, they didn't even really remember what they wrote, because in a way, they didn't.
All right, so this stuff isn't just happening in a fancy lab. It's happening right now, in our classrooms, in our offices. So what does this cognitive shift actually look like out in the real world?
Well, in education, we're seeing something called the cognitive paradox. On the one hand, students using AI seem way more productive in the short term. Their work looks great, it's polished, they turn it in faster. But, and this is a big but, they're actually learning and remembering less in the long run.
And I mean, get ready for this number. One study found that students who used an AI tutor scored, wait for it, 17% lower on their final exams compared to students who didn't. Let that sink in. They did more work, but they learned way, way less.
And it's not just schools. We're seeing a really similar thing happening in the tech world. You've got these junior coders who can use AI to just crank out code at lightning speed. And sure, that looks great on a progress report. But when that code breaks, and trust me, it always breaks, they're totally lost. They just don't have that foundational knowledge to figure out what went wrong and how to fix it.
This quote just nails it. There was this story about a junior coder, a real AI whiz, who was just completely stumped by a system failure. Then a senior developer, who had basically no AI experience, walked over and fixed it in 30 minutes.
What was the difference? It wasn't about speed. It was about deep, fundamental understanding.
So, is that it? Are we all just doomed to a future of cognitive laziness? No, not at all. Not even close. We have a choice here. We can either let our minds atrophy, or we can learn to use these incredible tools to augment our intelligence.
For educators, this means the whole game has to change. It's not about grading who can generate the most perfect essay anymore. It's about who can critically evaluate what the AI spits out. That means you've got to build that strong, brain-only foundation first before you even introduce the AI tools. And then you teach students how to use AI for deep engagement, not just as an answer machine.
And hey, this isn't just on schools. Industry has to refactor how it thinks about training too. We're talking about AI-free boot camps for new hires so they master the core skills. Focusing training on debugging and understanding the why, not just writing the code. And maybe, just maybe, shifting incentives to reward real problem solving and deep understanding, not just how fast you can ship a feature.
You know, when you boil it all down, it comes to this. In a world where AI can do so much for us, the biggest challenge isn't about learning a new skill. It's about learning ourselves. It's about developing the self-awareness to know when to use the tool and when to trust our own brain. The future is truly in our hands. The only real question is, what are we going to do with it?